I would advise all Yankee fans to stay away from the San Francisco Chronicle today and probably avoid reading any other major Bay Area publication. Probably don't even hop on Twitter. Don't even really read anything, because if you do and you're going to do a little Giants Judge search, you're going to see that their owner, Farhan Zaidi, I believe is how you say it.
Sounds good.
Is getting a little big for his britches out there in San Francisco, Tiki. Now, there's not tampering going on, but there was a direct shot across the country that says we are going big game hunting, and the fish that we are trying to reel in is the guy playing the outfield for the Yankees.
Yeah.
And it's not Aaron Hicks.
Yeah, they asked him specifically about Aaron Judge. He obviously couldn't mention Aaron Judge, but we all know what he's talking about. You know, because I know, and you know that I know that we're talking about Aaron Judge. And the question will become for Yankees and Yankee fans, really, because they're going to evaluate this based on what Cashman and the ownership decides to do, is how much is too much. That's the wrong way to put it, but it's the best way to put it. But how much is too much for Aaron Judge? And we all saw last night his 2 home runs. It's epic. It's great. It's, they win a series against a rival. As you just heard him talking with Susan Waldman after the game. He's doing exactly what he needed to do in a contract year to get one of the biggest contracts in Major League Baseball history. But how much is too much? It's easy to look at some of these older deals, right? Alex Rodriguez signed for $275 million, which seems antiquated nowadays, given that Giancarlo Stanton, just a few years later, is $325 million. Bryce Harper was $330 million. Tatis Jr., which would be a little bit less than this because he's suspended for 80 games, is $340 million. Lindor was $341. At the very least, it's got to be $342. Mookie Betts was $365, and Mike Trout, six years ago, I believe he signed this deal, $430 million from Mike Trout. So you ask yourself, is Aaron Judge worth what Mike Trout was worth when he signed that deal? And if your answer is yes, then the Yankees will hold on to Aaron Judge. If your answer is, I don't quite think so, he's a little bit too old, then the Yankees are going to lose Aaron Judge, because the San Francisco Giants, like we've been saying for months now, are going to come correct to chase Aaron Judge.
And by the way, there might be some team that wouldn't even think about yet that is like, hey, we are desperate. Give them $500 million.
That's right.
Who the hell knows where this is going? The numbers are the numbers. The stats are the stats. And they are off the charts sublime. What this guy's doing this year. And I know it might not be the most interesting radio, but I feel compelled to just continue to reassert what this guy's done, because think about what we've done with the Jets, and rightfully so. And we're going to get to them later. Carl Banks a little later. Mets, you got to start beating these bad teams. Yes. We're getting to all this, okay? But the things that we do on a daily basis, unfortunately, negativity tends to sell. It's a little easier to shout and scream and rant and rave than it is to get on the air and praise, because praising is just not, it's in a weird way, it's not as fulfilling. I don't know.
Right.
The sparks aren't there. I get that.
It's hard to disagree with praise.
Yeah, that's a good way to summarize
what
it.
do we say? What do we say? Aaron Judge was amazing last night. He's got 57 home runs. Well, he wasn't that great.
I know.
He maybe could have pulled that one more and hit it a little bit harder,
yes.
a little bit longer.
The exit velo wasn't quite what we expect. Hit the weights there, dude. But even with the way this sports radio, sports wackiness that we do every day, you can't ignore amazing achievements. And it might seem, all right, just a regurgitation, but it's really not. I said, and you can go and look this up, just do a Google search, whether it's FAN and Aaron Judge or Tiki and Tierney or my name and Judge. On August 31st, I said, and I think you were out this day, Tiki, I said that Aaron Judge is doing something that no other Yankees done. It's the greatest season in the history of the New York Yankees. That's before, by the way, last night, before a couple of more home runs, and he's going to just moonwalk to 62, 63, 64, whatever it might be. He is going to just obliterate the record book, because he's already there, okay? But Ruth, as great as Ruth was, Ruth had other players. He had Gehrig. Mantle had Yogi Berra. Derek Jeter had everybody. He does not have that. What he is doing is insane. There's 52 players right now with 20 or more home runs. 52. You know that Aaron Judge has 20 more than any other player in baseball. Kyle Schwarber's number 2. He's got 37. All right, that's an interesting stat, right? Not as interesting as this. The gap between number 1 and number 2 is the same gap between Schwarber at number 2 and number 60. You think that's interesting? Well, this might be more interesting. This is the first time since 1928, a year before the Great Depression, 1928, that a player has finished a calendar day with a 20-plus home run lead, meaning that when you go to bed on that day back in 1928, Babe Ruth had 23 more home runs than Jim Bottomley and Hack Wilson. And it's not happened since that year. What does all this mean for me? It means that I am now going in a place that I really didn't think I would go. And I always said, give him $60 million. I don't care what the AAV is. I was a little reluctant to give him the 8-9 years. Nothing. I'm doing it. I don't care. You want to tell me it's a 10-year? If that's what it's going to take.
Why change now?
Well, number one, I know you mentioned some of the contracts before. Pujols, all right, in 2011, signed a 10-year, $254 million deal. His first season with the Angels was his age 32 season. Now, he played, counting this year, so it's not really fair, but almost 1,800 games with the Cardinals. That's a lot of games.
That is a lot.
Aaron Judge has played only 710 with the Yankees. Now you tell me, well, he's been banged up a bit. I understand that's an element of the way you view what he's
True.
worth.
But we've also dissected and dismissed that.
There's no question. And you more than me. Yeah. And a lot of it was you dive for a ball, something a little wacky.
Yeah.
But the point is, the body's just a lot more lively than it was for Pujols, who's flat-footed, thick-legged, and pretty much stationary, even back in 2011. So I am now of the belief that he's going to age more gracefully than I thought maybe he would. And you know what? I said it yesterday. Without Aaron Judge, this team stinks. They're a 77-win team. They're not worth watching. They're not worth going to the ballpark to support, and they're not worth talking about. If he leaves, it's over.
So how much is too much?
I'll give him 10 years,
that's
whatever.
The question. So it's $500 million?
I'll let Steinbrenner worry about the money. I'll worry about the years.
But I think that's what it comes down to.
Well,
I think that's what's going to determine what the Yankees ultimately do. We've already heard Randy Levine talk about they're going to be competitive when they go after Aaron Judge. But when I hear that and I don't hear we're going to absolutely sign Aaron Judge, it makes me feel like there's a top, right? There's a ceiling that they're not going to go above. And then you throw in all of the statistics and the math as it pertains to jersey sales and eyes that are attracted to the New York Yankees because of Aaron Judge. It makes it worth it. I just don't believe that the Yankees are going to ultimately go where it needs to go if it goes out of control.
Okay. Now, if Tiki's right, we're going to have to change the name of this team.
To?
The New York Yankees. We're going to lose the Y.
Yankees?
Because if you don't say yes to this guy, you're not saying yes to anybody. I mean, if the seriously, think about when you just say the word Yankees.
Yeah.
It's got a certain reference.
Yeah, of course. But shouldn't there be we're not compromising the future for one player?
Well, yes, unless that one. Don't forget, Volpe's ripping up the minors.
Mm-hmm.
I think
He's not Aaron Judge, though.
I understand he doesn't need to be, but he's going to be a $600,000 shortstop, which enables you to do other things.
Yeah,
you can you can buy out here. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of the roster configuration next year, but what you can do, just a little thumbnail sketch to let everybody know it's definitely financially plausible. You eat half of Donaldson's deal, you get rid of him. Mm-hmm. You put IK up on third base, along with the kids, whether it's Cabrera, whether it's Peraza, whatever. You could put IKF at second. I know Torres had a big hit. You could trade Torres. You obviously get rid of Aaron. If anybody wants him for 13 cents on the dollar, please, by all means, take him. There are a lot of ways to attack this to save money elsewhere, and in my opinion, still put out a really good team. So Listen, I don't know what they're thinking. I'm not trying to get on the air saying that this is what I think the Yankees will do. Teak, all I'm saying is I have had a recalibration of what I think they should do. I always thought 6, 7 years, 7 years tops, okay, you can't go nuts. He's not a kid, blah, blah, blah. Little injury history. Yeah, you offer context. We know. But still, now I've changed my mind. And it has not been an overnight change. It's been going in this direction for a long time. This guy's got a swing that is sustainable. He's got a loose, lively body. And you know what? This guy with a 314-foot fence in right field, you can protect him at the end of that contract when he loses a little juice in the wheels. He leads the league in home runs, RBIs, runs, OPS, slug percentage, extra base hits, 16 steals, and a Gold Glove outfielder with $1 million smile without a worry about him doing something wrong off the field. And there's a thought that Hal Steinbrenner might not cut the necessary check to keep this guy in the Bronx. If that happens, and if Aaron Judge wants to stay, now what we can't quantify yet, he might want to go home. And if that's the case, we absolve Hal and we put the slings and the arrows in our pocket. Yeah. If Aaron Judge leaves and it comes out shortly thereafter that he wanted to stay, then we rip down the stadium. I mean, I'm saying that with a smile, but we get on trains, we go to the Bronx, and bolt by bolt, we disassemble that stadium because they're no longer the Yankees if they let that happen.
Yeah, but don't we know they're already not the Yankees anymore? They're not the same. They're not the same Yankees that everybody romanticizes that was winning, multiple championships and spending whatever they had to spend. I'm not even talking about the George Yankees. I'm just talking about the Yankees that did what they had to do as it pertained to developing talent and then getting that accent talent that made them. CeCe Sabathia is a perfect example that made them.
Yeah, CeCe, still like Ohtani to win the MVP. Did you watch the game last night, CeCe? Hopefully you did, buddy.
Maybe he spoke it into the other way around. Like he made Judge or
I know what you're saying. He motivated Judge by dissing Judge.
No, he really dissed
him.
I
said Ohtani's the MVP.
Well, Ohtani's great. Even though Judge's WAR is significantly better, 9 right now, 7.3 or whatever it is for Ohtani right now. But still, my point is the Yankees aren't the Yankees that they used to be. They're just not. You know this. And so money is a concern for whatever reason. I don't know why. It shouldn't be. There is no cap in baseball. There is a penalty, obviously, for going over it.
But, which I'm so tired of hearing about.
Me too, but that's the reality of how they're doing business.
Can I push back a little bit here? Now, and I know what you mean when you say they're not the Yankees. And in large part, you're not.
They're not
wrong.
Obsessed with winning.
I don't disagree, and I've said that.
There is all right. We got to get rid of that guy. Get rid of him.
They want to win, but winning is no longer their oxygen like it used to be.
Yes,
I agree. We're on the same page with that. But to be fair to them, what's the contract to Cole?
$300
plus million.
I was just looking at it the other day.
300. Wow. Now, whether he's worth it or not, this isn't. I mean,
324.
Probably not.
$324 million.
$324 million for your alleged, your sometimes ace. I'm gonna try to diss him, but he does. Boy, he just can't seem to keep the ball in the yard this year. It's driving me nuts. But he's still good.
Yeah.
And they cut the big check. If they cut a $415 million check, I'm just throwing out a number for Judge. Then how can we sit here and say that they're not the Yankees? Not to mention picking up the Stanton stuff.
Well, that's my point. Are they going to?
Well, but you said when people say that they're not the Yankees anymore, I think Judge is the final barometer. If they let him walk and he wants to stay, then we can't push back on that statement.
So, I mean,
if they sign him, then why would we say that?
Because think about what the Yankees used to do. And this is ancient history, so it's not even really worth regurgitating, but you'd go spend money on the star. You don't go spend money on a Band-Aid. You don't go get Josh Donaldson, right? You don't go get, I don't know, Rizzo. Or Rizzo, I guess, is different conversation. But someone who's not effective, who's just kind of a piece, right? You don't overpay for guys who haven't earned it yet, like Aaron Hicks. And so the team is different, but they're money conscious. You're conscious, right? And when you're paying an ace, that's different than paying a star who's 31 years old. And so if they do it, maybe they are the Yankees, but it still doesn't feel like the Yankees. You know what I mean?
It will really not feel like the Yankees if this guy is playing at 10:30 every night. Every other, not every night. Sometimes it could travel
basically on the West Coast.
That would be the final nail in the grave in terms of the Yankees really being identified as the Yankees. At least in my opinion, I think you agree. Again, if he wants to stay. I mean, all this energy and all this heat they were putting on Hal, if he's already predisposed in his mind to go back west, there's not a damn thing we can do. We can yell all day on the radio. We can blast this and rip that and chastise this and try to, project out that. If he wants to go home, he's going to go home. That's not the point. The point is, if he wants to stay and they don't do whatever the hell it takes to let him stay, it's going to be ugly for the Yankees.
You make it worth his while.
It's going to be ugly.
You make it almost an impossible decision for him to want to
give
leave.
Give an offer you can't refuse.
Exactly.
That's what they got to do. 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. I mean, again, I know I threw a lot of numbers at you, and I try not to do that because it's paralyzing when you're driving. You're like, what did he say? I get that. But you do need to hear this again. This is the first time since 1928, no records are like baseball records, we know, that a player has finished a calendar day with a 20-plus home run lead over the second leading home run hitter in the league. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth did it in 1928. Hack Wilson and Jim Bottomley. Wilson, more of a name that probably more of you know. Wow. It's just, I mean, it's freakish stuff. The first home run, curveball, bang, right center field. Next home run, bang, let me just hit it into the street left field. This guy does whatever he wants.
That's right.
It is amazing, like the grace and the ease, the explosion. He is so in sync. I mean, he is making something really hard.
And it's
look incredibly easy.
It's why there's value worth on him that's greater than what he does. Because you have to go see it. Or you to just be in the presence
100%.
of what he's doing it's incentive to go to the ballpark.
It's a Bonzian effect in the regard that other fans look at you as a superhero.
That's right.
The difference, ours is clean, to our knowledge. He is fully authentic, unlike the juice head out west, whose head got the size of a Yugo. He took horse amphetamines, whatever the hell else he was taking out there. Yeah, this is crazy. So I want to ask you, we're going to get these calls coming up. We are just smashing the phones. Carl Banks, 1140. We're going to get to the Mets. Don't worry. It's not a collapse, but you better start playing better.
You should worry.
Whoa.
If you're the Mets.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I meant don't worry, we're going to get to him.
Yes, I know, but I'm just making a play on your words.
Interesting.
Actually worry.
Okay, well, you got that from Tiki. Maybe I'll agree, maybe not. But the question that we throw out to Yankee fans out of the chute is, if you had a mark in your head, 7 years, give it his age, all the other things we've talked about a million times, what you've seen this season, has it changed the parameters of what you think the Yankees need to do to retain Judge? We'll get these calls coming up. It's a busy Wednesday. Tiki and Tierney here on The Fan.